Hi, I'm Alok Asthana, a retired Army officer of the infantry, sharing my views on whether we in India are getting the best return on investment on the money we are spending on our armed forces. My contention is definitely not, we are not getting it. With spending so much, all we are managing to do is to not get defeated by a country 4 times smaller. That's not a good return of spending 9% of our precious budget on defense. That leaves only 11% for all central sector schemes in this country, which is begging for more funds for education, health, and infrastructure. I'm not saying that we should reduce this allotment. I'm saying make every penny of the defense budget count. Presently, that is far from being the case. What's the best application of armed forces? To win wars? Oh, definitely not. That's being far too direct and bloody minded. Number one spot for use of armed forces goes to prevent wars. The number two spot, of course, goes to win wars decisively if you have to fight them. Ideally, your forces should be so strong, such a deterrent that the enemy should fear attacking you. They should feel that if they do so, they'll surely get destroyed. That's deterrence. This option does cost more since it requires more expenditure, but in the long run, it saves you money that would have been spent on needless wars thereafter. On this yardstick, that is, using armed forces to prevent wars, we in India have failed miserably. Enemies have attacked us repeatedly. Even insurgents, some very poorly equipped, trouble us endlessly. On the LC, the enemy shells us regularly. Just no one really thinks that engaging India is a loser's game. They think taking on India is doable and someday they may succeed. So, deterrence, we deter no one. Now, let us get to the second spot position. That is, using armies to win wars decisively. Clearly, you should be able to retaliate with such ferocity that the enemy who dared is forced to pay a prohibitive price and others watching it get the deterrent effect. At this level too, we failed. No one has ever who has attacked us paid for it with a really bloodied nose. In 62, we lost to the Chinese. In 71, we did win decisively and did cause Pakistan to lose its eastern wing. However, they managed to take back 93,000 of their prisoners without having to pay anything further for it. In the other wars, that is 47, 65 and Kargil, the enemy dared audaciously and went back honorably. We failed to extract any big prize for the mischief. At best, we ensured that the mischief did not succeed. While it gave them a 50-50 chance of success, it extracted no penalty for it. In gambling terms, this is called the low-cost, high-gain option. And here I am not finishing my case studies of our performance with Kargil, which was 19 years back. The latest situation is even worse. Earlier, whenever the enemy attacked, he was forced to meet the might of India, even if that was not very effective. In 65, he attacked us across the LC in Kashmir, but we retaliated across the IB in Chamb. It is another thing that it did not achieve much, but we did hit back. However, in the one-day war with Pakistan post the Balakot strike on 27th February this very year, they attacked our regular troops with the regular air force in broad daylight and did not face any reprisals or retribution at all. They attacked, lost some, took some, and just went back. Chapters closed. That's never happened before. It's surely a further severe dent in our military credibility. Now let us move to the fine print of effectiveness of the army at the micro level. Being an army man, I may not much about the fine print of the other two services, so I won't dare there. In the army, we are very proud of names like Captain Vikram Batra and Lieutenant Saurabh Kalia, quoting these as examples of how Indian Army officers lead from the front. Indeed, they do, but unfortunately, many others don't. My whole point is about the majority who do not contribute satisfactorily. Leading a full company in assault in a high altitude area is a very difficult task. That is why the army has decided to have officers of about 8 to 12 years of service for the job. The expertise doesn't come in less time than this. The unit of Captain Vikram Batra surely had officers of this service bracket. Then why was Vikram Batra, who had barely 1.5 years of service, made to command Delta Company full-time in war in high altitude? B company of that unit too was commanded by a lieutenant youngster. When Vikram moved in for the final assault, where he was martyred so valiantly, he was down with fever, fatigue and wounds from the previous attack. Was it right to send him like that? How did the tactical situation become so precarious? What were those officers of the unit doing who had between 8 to 12 years of service and thus should have been doing this task? The case of Lieutenant Kalia is even stranger. The unit had received information about deadly enemy infiltration and decided to send out a patrol to check it out. And how did they compose this all-important patrol? One officer with less than 7 months service, and with him another 5 other Jawans, all young sepoys, not even one NCO or JCO. No worthwhile fire support. I say this with full responsibility that if you provide such a solution to this problem in a training exercise of the Indian Army, you will surely be booed out of the room and probably be sacked soon thereafter, and you would deserve it. But in reality, this is what happened. No wonder all these 6 were caught. And by admission of the Indian Army itself, they were kept captives for 22 days. So what did the unit, brigade and division do in these 22 days to get their men back? It seems they did nothing worthwhile, at least, to get these men back. Now, that's even more blameworthy than sending out the patrol that way. Unlike many armies, now we will never be able to claim with pride, we in the Indian Army just don't leave our dead and wounded behind, because it seems we do. These are cases which should have got us citizens all fired up. What the hell? Why are our young officers dying like this? Why isn't everyone doing their job? Why is it that even when it is a task for 10 men, it is invariably led by an officer? Why aren't the rightful commanders of those levels, NCOs, JCOs, leading these operations? It is either the young officer or the CO himself leading the men. Very good of them, excellent. But what about the others? Why isn't everyone pulling equally at the rope? There is a lot that Indian Army has to answer for. The training and equipment profile is simply inadequate, and that is putting it mildly. At the higher levels, the overall management of resources is pretty poor. The result? Excessive unnecessary casualties, and always a status quo for the country after that. That's not a good return on investment. When we demand good ROI from other ministries, why not from the Ministry of Defense? In other ministries, only the money of the taxpayer gets lost. Here our brightest and best have to die, and that too without significant gain. All we are managing is avoiding a defeat from a country about 4 times smaller than us. So next time someone tells you that we have a very powerful armed forces, ask him these searching questions. By the way, I'm as nationalistic as the other guy. It's actually this love for my motherland and my army that prompts me to raise these questions. Also, let no one fool you that the restructuring of the army as is going on now will in any way change the situation. It won't. They don't even acknowledge the real problem. So how will they sort it out? Jai Hind.